Pablo walks in with his cousin Gustavo. They're dressed in cowboy shirts, jeans, and cowboy boots. He hired me to be his CFO. So Pablo tells me how many customers he has and how much money he has. He told me 20 million, but when we started, the real figure was 50 million. And there were other little gangs. Okay, there were the Ochoas, the Gachas, the Leathers, the Rodriguezes. They were all separate gangs. But when I came on board for Pablo, I brought corporate organization to the team. And that gave Pablo a distinct advantage to every other gang. So slowly Pablo didn't take them over, but he in fact became the leader among equal. Pablo had this quality. He always paid you with interest. If you were loyal to him, he'd give you the shirt off his back. If you fucked with him, he'd kill your wife, your children, your dog, your goldfish, your bird, your parents, and anybody else he could get a hold of. The day that I got the approval to take Pablo as a client, it was an extreme failure of imagination on the part of the US government, because they never imagined what modern accounting laundering techniques applied to the drug business could do. And what it did was eventually create the largest cocaine cartel in the world, manufacturing 80% of the world's cocaine. Protected by the money, by the cartel, and by the CIA. I'm untouchable. One day, two of my clients come in and they say, hey, look, the Colombian that provides us our stuff wants to meet you. And I mean, I was working under discipline. I wasn't a free agent. I couldn't take a client unless it was approved. And so I just told him, look, forget about it. I don't need any more clients. I'm doing fine and I'm very busy. I don't have time for clients. So a few weeks pass and my clients come in again and they bring a black sense in my briefcase, give it to me, I open it up and it's got a few $100,000 in it. And I said, oh, good, what do you want me to do with this? Because that's what I did for them. They would bring me money, I would launder it. And he said, no, that's not ours. The Colombian sent you that. He says, that's yours just for one meeting. And I said, well, let me get back to you. I went to talk to Dr. Artime, and I told him, hey, look, this Colombian just won't leave me alone. He wants to meet. What do I do? And he said, well, let me run it up and I'll let you know. A few days passed and he said, they said to go ahead and meet the guy, see what's what. I said, okay. So I gave him an appointment at my bank in Panama. And, I was a dandy. I had my suits made in London by H. Huntsman. I had my shirts made at Paris by Hermès. My shoes were handmade in Italy by Testoni. And I said, okay, so I'm sitting there in my English library, dressed to the nines, waiting for this meeting. My secretary buzzes me that your appointments are here. And I said, show them in. Pablo walks in with his cousin Gustavo. They're dressed in cowboy shirts, jeans, and cowboy boots. They look like they just left their horses outside. They walk in and they're actually quite humble. They're not arrogant. They sit across the desk from me and I told them, well, gentlemen, you paid for this meeting, so The agenda's yours. Tell me what you want. And then Pablo said, look, we have a pretty big business in the United States. We supply your clients, but we have a lot more people like your clients, a lot more. And we have a problem. Of all the people that we supply, the only people that pay on time, the money gets to the bank with no problems. The only people that are flawless in the delivery are your clients. And we asked them how the hell they did it. And they said, well, we don't do it. Our accountant does it for us. And he gave us your name. He said, and what we want you to do is we want you to do for all of our clients what you do for my clients' name were Benny and Willie. We want you to do for the rest of our clients what you do for Benny and Willie. And I said, well, there's a problem. Benny and Willie are my clients, but all those people that are your clients are not my clients. And Pablo says, well, if you agree to do this for us, I guarantee you they'll be your clients. And I said, well, give me an idea of what I'm talking about, because I have to formulate a plan, see if I can do it, blah, blah, blah. And there's a joke here at the end. So Pablo tells me how many customers he has and how much money he has. And Gustavo was sitting next to him, and Gustavo was, nodding his head, yeah, yeah. And I say, okay, well, thank you. I'll tell you what. Let me think about this. Let me see what I have to do to take care of your clients, and I will get back to you. Okay. So he had given me a figure, and he had told me it was about $20 million a month. But we're talking about $1975. So I go back to Dr. Artime. I got debriefed. I told him about the meeting. I told him about the Cowboys. I said, these people said $20 million, but they didn't look like $20 million. I'm an arrogant little fucker. I said, they probably exaggerated. They probably told me twice the amount that they were really running. It's probably 10 million. And here's the joke. Pablo was afraid to tell me the truth. He told me 20 million. I cut it down to 10, but when we started, the real figure was 50 million. They were afraid to say the truth, and they were understating it by over 50%. And then I cut that down by half. So you can imagine when we started, what a surprise that was. Up to that point, we were all in-house. We were teams of operatives, and we worked in-house. For the very first time, I was going to go outside of my team and train a new team, the Colombian team. Okay, of course I knew how to do it because once you've done it once, you have the training. But it was a big job. So I needed Pablo to provide collectors for the money. I needed to train the collectors. It took me about a year. At the beginning, Pablo was not very sophisticated, and he loved to see his money. You could explain to him about carried interest, about putting money to work in an investment fund. All this was Chinese to him. He wanted to see his money. So at the beginning, we would send him all his money. And he had a very, very big warehouse where he kept his money. And in accounting and in accounting, inventory accounting, you always, it's called FIFO, first in, first out. So every business in the world takes the oldest part in the factory, in the warehouse, and sells that first. So when I set up the warehouse, I told him, look, you have to use FIFO accounting. So the oldest money in here, the first money in here has to go out first. Okay? And that way you rotate the money all the time, etc. And I did this with all his staff there, because we're not talking about boxes. We're talking about pallets of money. This money got moved around with a forklift, and they would be 4 pallets high. Now, money is not paper. Money is cloth, and money has moisture. Okay. So I had given them a little training. I told them, you take the oldest money and you pay it out, and you got to rotate this. And everybody, bobbed their head. Yes, we got it. Went away. Several months later, Pablo calls me up. We have an emergency. You have to come down here. The money's no good. I said, the money's no good. I mean, what do you mean? No, come. Okay, get in my plane. I get there. We go to the warehouse. And what had happened was the moisture from all the money had been dripping down, dripping down, dripping down. And it had ended up in the bottom boxes. And all those bottom boxes had become like paper mache. The bills were just welded together. And I looked at it, and I'm looking at the bottom box, so I'm not on my knees, but I'm scrunched down, and each box is labeled, and it has the amount, the location where it comes from, who sent it. It's got tracking data, and one of the tracking data is the date. So I said, Pablo, come down here, please. He scrunches down. He and I are looking at this box, and I said, look at the date on the box. Do you remember what I told you about first in had to go out? They haven't been rotating the money. And he looks at the date. And Pablo always carried a 38 revolver, not in a holster, just in his waistband, a small 38 revolver. The manager of the warehouse is standing between us. He and I are down looking at the box. The guy's standing straight up. Pablo gets up, pulls out the revolver as he's getting up, and bam, bam, puts 2 in the guy's head. You either follow orders or you don't, and there's a price to pay. I was very upset because I got blood spatter all over my suit and my shirt. And Pablo looks at me, and I'm looking at my shirt. I mean, I got this blood spatter because, when you shoot, it doesn't always go out the back. It comes out the front, and shit, I have blood all over me. And I'm kind of pissed off. He looks at me and he says, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We'll get you cleaned up. We're psychopaths. He's not worried about the guy he just shot. He's worried that he's ruined my clothing, and that's Pablo in a nutshell. We were at the Intercontinental Hotel in Medellin. We had rented the entire hotel. We're having this huge party. We own 7 television stations, about 30 radio stations. We finance all the novellas in the country. We had access to all the stars, the women. So we're sitting there at a table, and each one of us has this beautiful starlet, this soap opera princess, right? And we're having a really good time. And one of Pablo's lieutenants comes to the table and asks the girl that I'm with to dance. He's had a few too many. And I swear to God, all I did was I looked up to him like this. I said nothing. And looked back, and the girl looks at me and says, no, thank you. And that was the end. Nothing else happened. The next day, There's a knock at the hotel, at my door, at my room door. And of course, I'm not worried about security because we got the whole hotel locked down. It's ours for the duration. I think it's breakfast that I ordered. So I opened the door to get my breakfast, and there's no breakfast there, but there's a laundry cart and three of Pablo's guys. Um, they're wheeling the laundry cart, and they said, Dr. Milian, Don Pablo wants to express his apologies for the terrible insult last night, and he hopes that this makes it okay. And they take the top off the laundry cart, and there's the guy dead, you know, dead as a doornail. Pablo had this quality. He always paid you with interest. If you were loyal to him, he'd give you the shirt off his back. If you fucked with him, he'd kill your wife, your children, your dog, your goldfish, your bird, your parents, and anybody else you could get a hold of. If you did your job, did as you were told, you got paid with interest. If you didn't do your job, you got punished with interest. And look, you have an organization of psychopaths. It has to be run with discipline. Everybody has to know what the downside is. Look, whenever they send me their collectors up to the U.S., the collectors were interviewed by me first, and if I approved them, they had to put their entire family as hostages in this little village we made. All these houses and a swimming pool. It was a great place to live, but they weren't leaving. While you were collecting money in the US for us, we had your family down in Colombia. So I would sit down with these prospective collectors and I'd say, look, we expect from you complete loyalty. And we expect from you complete honesty. If I hire you, I'm going to give you some special training. And you're going to feel like a Superman after I finish with you. And if you pass my training, you're going to be rich. You're going to go to the United States and work for me for 6 months, 24/7. And after the 6 months are over, you're coming back to Colombia and I'm going to give you $100,000 and your family back. And you can start a new life and nothing's going to happen to you. If in 6 months you want to do it again, you let me know and I'll give you another tour of duty elsewhere. Now, I want you to know that I have 100 ways of catching you if you steal. Don't think that you can take 1 cent from us. I will catch you. And when I catch you, I'm not going to do anything to you. But I'm going to call Don Pablo and Gustavo, and I'm going to tell him, you robbed us. I'm going to show him the proof. They're going to take you, bring you back here, and they're going to kill your whole family in front of you. Then they're going to take you and hang you up by your feet, douse you with gasoline, and set you on fire in front of all the other collectors as an example to anyone that can think they can steal from us successfully. So, if you think you can steal, I advise you not to do it and leave right now and nothing happens. But if you accept the job and you steal, I will catch you and I will make the call. You will have murdered your entire family and you will have committed suicide. And I gave this little speech to every single collector because we were transparent and upfront. And the honest ones lived happily ever after and had enough money. Because let me tell you, with $100,000, back then you could buy a house open up a business. And I didn't threaten them. I made them a promise. I'm going to catch you and this is going to happen to you. And of course, there's always a few knuckleheads, and they were dealt with in exactly that way. And you might say, wow, this is a horrendous thing. But look, we did not go around hurting innocent people. We went around killing people that fucked with us. People who had been told, we had that saying, plata or plomo, which is lead or silver. It rhymes in it rhymes in Spanish, plata o plomo. We always put silver first. We always offer money. We always offer the easy route first. But if you want to fuck with us, you're getting lead. To a certain point, we were a people who were scrupulously honest within our society, and we kept our word. You know, we left thousands of rich people. We made them rich. And we left hundreds of dead people because there's always going to be knuckleheads. He hired me to be his CFO, in effect. Of course, drug cartels don't use the term CFO, but that, in fact, that's what I ended up being. It ended up being a huge system. It ended up being just and of course, Pablo was in his infancy then. When he got me on board, he didn't realize this, but he got the US government on board with all of our resources. So we opened doors for him that he never dreamed that could be opened. And of course, everybody likes the money, and these covert operations cost a lot of money. So it was a symbiosis from heaven. You know, I had trained all these people, and all of a sudden, I had access to several thousand potential fighters in our war. One of the things that people don't understand is that when I started with Pablo, it was Pablo, and there were other little gangs. Okay, there were the Ochoas, the Gachas, the Leathers, the Rodriguezes. They were all separate gangs. But when I came on board for Pablo, I brought corporate organization to the team. And that gave Pablo a distinct advantage to every other gang. So slowly, Pablo didn't take them over, but he, in fact, became uh, the leader among equal because he could get things done that they couldn't. For instance, when I needed something from Pablo, I would tell him, "Look, my friends need this, and what they're willing to do for you is they're going to give you the next 2 months of patrol schedule for the U.S. Navy and the Coast Guard. Your ships will be able to slip through with no problem." That gave Pablo a distinct advantage over everybody else. So Pablo started selling his information. He started to tell the Ochoas, "Hey, look, I can get your stuff in guaranteed." So they started to send shipments as a group rather than just individually. Well, let me tell you, the day that I got the approval to take Pablo as a client, it was an extreme failure of imagination on the part of the US government because they never imagined what modern accounting laundering techniques, covert laundering techniques applied to the drug business could do. And what it did was eventually create the largest cocaine cartel in the world, manufacturing 80% of the world's cocaine. And Pablo calls me and says, "I need you right now." I said, "Well, what happened?" He says, "Don Fabio's daughter's been kidnapped by M19. Well, Pablo already knew we were going to start an operation against M19 because he had given me his people to work with the Israelis. So he's like, "What do we do?" So I called my case. I said, "I'll be there in a minute. Just wait for me." I had a jet waiting 24/7. I had 3 sets of pilots, so there would be a fresh set of pilots with that plane 24/7. That's the way we operate. So I called my case officer and I said, "Hey, you're not going to believe this shit. M19 just kidnapped Don Fabio's daughter." And the guy says, "No, they can't be that stupid." And I said, "Yes, they can." So this operation is going to change immediately. I'm going to go down there right now, talk to Pablo, and I'll let you know. And usually, nobody wants to know details. They just want results. It's like, Ramon, you've been trained, you know what to do. Now you're a senior field operative. We got nothing to show you. You're the man. I mean, by that time, I had 8 years of experience. I'd survived assassination attempts. I was good to go. So I fly to Colombia. Pablo meets me, and we go to see Don Fabio. And I pick up uh, a military officer from the U.S. Embassy who was on detachment to the CIA, and I pick up a Colombian general who was on detachment to us as well. I mean, I had reach. The money could reach anywhere. So I show up at Don Fabio's house, and now it's an armed camp. I mean, every soldier he has is armed to the teeth, and I mean, um, and they haven't made any demands yet. This is literally hours after the kidnapping, and I sit down with Don Fabio, and I tell him, Don Fabio, I know you're upset. I know I have daughters myself, so I can understand what I would be like if somebody took my daughter. And I know that you want to solve this problem immediately. But let me tell you that if you pay this ransom for your daughter, every one of you is going to live in fear for the rest of your life in Colombia. Every cousin, every daughter, everyone is going to be a target. You cannot afford to pay this. And he said, "Well, how can I not afford to pay this? I want my daughter back." I mean, he's upset. He weighs like 400 pounds. And I said, "Look, I brought this fellow from the American embassy, obvious soldier. I mean, I said, and General so and so, and the soldier, the American soldier, was in a suit, but the Colombian general was in his uniform." I said, "These gentlemen have pledged to help me get your daughter back." And the guy said, "Yes." The guy, "We're here to help you." So Fabio knows that he's got the Americans that are going to help him, and he's got the whole goddamn Colombian government that's going to help him. That's resources. He doesn't even ask how I have, because he just understands that the money talks. I said, "Look, what I need you to do is I need you to put me in charge of this." And Pablo's there and says, "I agree." Pablo's saying, "Ramon's been wanting to go after M19. I've been helping him." He gives him a little bit of background. And Ochoa thinks about it, and he says, "Okay, you can be in charge, but whatever happens to my daughter happens to you." And I stood up and shook his hand. I said, "It's a deal." At that point, I said, I, I don't know if you've ever seen an old-fashioned satellite phone. My phone weighed 30 pounds. It was a leather briefcase by Motorola. I could communicate anywhere in the world with this thing. It's the latest CIA issue. I gave him my phone number to that satellite phone. I said, "When they call you, tell him, the guy that calls you, to call this number. I'm on it 24/7, and tell him I'm your money man. and I will arrange for the payment of your daughter. Don't tell him anything else. Tell him that I will pay for the return of your daughter. At that point, I told him, I don't trust anybody, Don Fabio. I don't trust anybody here. I want to put my own security on you and your family. I'm going to bring some Israelis in to protect you. They cannot be bought. They cannot be threatened, because every one of these men that you have out here has families. And if they take one of their daughters, they can make them betray you. So I want you to let me give you security. And he said, yes. So I brought the Israeli hunter-killer teams to protect Don Fabio. And I told the embassy guy and the general, because they were worried. I said, he said you, but they're going to do the same thing to us. I said, don't worry about it. If they kill the girl, the Israelis are going to kill every Ochoa on the face of the earth. Nothing's going to happen to us. The leader of the cartel, Bateman, not Bernal, called. It was a fait accompli, so he figured, fuck it, I might as well go ahead and get as much money. So he calls and asks for $25 million. So we're speaking in Spanish. And I told Bateman, do you recognize my accent? And he says, yeah, you're a Cuban. I said, yes, this is important. I want you to remember you're talking to a Cuban. This is really important. That's it. I'm going to give you an answer on the $25 million tomorrow. But look, I'm going to be upfront with you and very transparent. You are not going to like my answer tomorrow. But I want you to remember not to touch one hair on Marta's head. When you receive my answer, I want you to call me again. And I know you're going to be mad. Don't touch the girl. You call me and we will work this through. Well, of course, that evening, we picked up about 20 people, killed them. Communists, we had files from the Colombian army. We picked up the first 20 we could find, killed them and hung them from trees, and put signs on them saying, death to the kidnappers, muerte secuestradores. This was a PSYOP operation put together by American psychiatrists, and we were going to kill as many communists as we could in the time allowed. So that was our answer. So of course, when they woke up in the morning and they saw all these people hanging from lampposts and trees, the guy calls me up, irate, telling me he's going to go and personally kill Marta and all that. I said, no. This is business. You mustn't do that. Because let me tell you, if you do that to Marta, we are going to kill every M19 member, every M19 sympathizer. We're going to wipe the DNA of your family, of Bernard's family, of everybody. This is war to the death. And I have just been given 3,000 soldiers to fight you. And let me tell you what I'm going to do every day from now till the day you return Marta. We're going to pick up your people. We're going to torture them, interrogate them so they give us names of other sympathizers, and we're going to kill them. And every morning you're going to get up and you're going to find more people hanging from lampposts. And that's what we did. And when we got to about 700 or 800, they just gave Marta back and apologized. And they wanted the whole world to know I'd been stopped. So they waited for me to get on my plane. I was taking $5 million to pay Noriega. It was Noriega's money. The only way I could be captured was Noriega gave up his own money. He paid $5 million to have me arrested. So in fact, Noriega gave up $5 million to have me taken out of the game. He had everything in the world, but he wanted power. When I said to get into the School of the Americas, you had to have two qualities. You had to have three. You had to have intelligence, You had to be a psychopath, and you had to have an incredible ego, because you had to believe that you were better than anybody else, and you were going to go out into the world and you were going to dominate. We were a very specific group of psychopaths. We were highly functional psychopaths with tremendous egos and tremendous um, goals to our life. We were going to affect the world. You know, we weren't out there to do something small. Look, when we started selling blood, we sold more blood than anybody in the goddamn world. And when we sold cocaine, we sold more cocaine than anybody in the fucking world. And when we killed people, we killed more people. Operation Condor, we used to fly them out in the ocean and just throw them out of the plane. You know, we learned that really from Somoza. When Somoza wanted to get rid of somebody, they put him in a helicopter, and there was this volcano in Nicaragua that was still alive, you know, bubbling, and he would just fly his enemies over the volcano and throw them in. And he said to us, "This is great. There's nothing left, you know, and no way to prove anything." So he used the volcano, and we used the ocean. We'd fly him out, you know, a couple 100 miles out to make sure the current took him away, and just throw him out the plane, you know. Here's what happens. Here's what happens. The guys that decided to steal the money were like bureaucrats, right? They weren't field operatives. They were CIA employees. There's a big difference between a CIA employee analyst and a CIA covert operative. I mean, we're not even the same species, you know, or the same training or the same kind of person. I mean, when these guys thought that I would break by putting me in prison, that's laughable. You're threatening me with a good time, an American prison? Please, don't be foolish. Um, so they didn't know who they were dealing with when they gave me a 43-year sentence and thought that would get my attention. You know, articles were written like, "This is insane. How can they give this guy 43 years for?" I mean, everybody that was in money laundering was like, "Fuck." You know, we thought we were going to get probation. I served 25 years. I got released in 2010. Yeah, I've been out 14 years. You know why I would never escape from a U.S. prison? Because there's no way of escaping prison without hurting guards. You either hurt them or kill them. And I was unwilling to hurt innocent people.
And so whatever happened to this 11 billion, Dr. Milian?
It's still it went through Allgemeine Bank Netherlands to Societe Generale, and in a few more years, it's going to be a dormant account, and the banks are going to divide up the money with the governments. After 50 years dormant, the banks just split it with the governments.
And whatever happened to your 800 million? I hope you've been enjoying that over the last 14 years.
I haven't worked a day in my life since I got out. My family has lived very well, and we lack for nothing. And all my children graduated from universities. My youngest daughter graduated from Harvard. You know, they lived great, normal lives. They lack for nothing, and I returned to the world, and I lack for nothing. So I'm an old man now, but I'm still a stone cold killer. I'm still in charge of all my faculties. I ran my investment funds from inside of prison. I knew exactly what was going on. I always expected it. I was always ready. And for me, it's just the cost of doing business. You know, what I really was expecting was to die. Okay. I expected at some point to die. So today I'm sitting here in front of you, and I'm the most surprised guy in the world that I survived. You know, I expected at some point they were going to lose their patience and just kill me. They killed Pablo, and they come to see me at the prison. We just killed Pablo, and we're going to kill everybody. We got Leather in prison. We got the Ochoas in prison. We killed Gacha. You don't have to protect anybody. It's you can turn over the money and you can get out of here. And you know, I'm a real asshole. So at that point, I said, okay, everybody's gone. Yeah, yeah. Now we're good to go. I said, no, we're not, because up to that point, it was their money I was protecting, but now it's my money, and I'm not fucking giving it up. I just wanted to piss them off and see it in their faces, and boy, they got pissed. And that's it. I ended up doing the 25 years, and no regrets. You know why people regret crime? Because 99% of them go to prison and come out broke.